Welcome to the No Limits Podcast, where limits do not exist, where you can create cash flow, equity, and real freedom with the power of real estate.
3, 4. Now, we will begin.
Welcome to the dojo. The dojo. This is Todd Toback, and welcome to the No Limits Real Estate Investing Podcast. Now, this show is all about helping you make more money in real estate, whether you are trying to do your first deal or you are trying to expand yourself into a larger team so that you could generate deals month after month after month. Now, today's show is the 4th episode in a series on marketing, right? How to generate leads for your business. And this is so important, because marketing leads are the lifeblood of your business. And without leads, without conversations, there are no deals. And without deals, you are not in real estate investing. So I'm going to reiterate some of these points. Marketing is the lifeblood of your business. Number 2, pick one marketing channel. Commit to it. Own it. Invest in it. Eventually, it will return. Number 3, have a regular schedule. Put it on an Excel spreadsheet. Do not let emotion or laziness or complacency deter you from your marketing schedule. You market day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out. Every piece of marketing that you plant will hopefully, eventually, come back and build you a tree. And that tree, you'll be sitting in the shade one day. Now, it is okay to pivot. If something is not working, what I mean by not working means that you are not having conversations with sellers, right? If you're generating calls and if you're having conversations, you are going to turn a portion of those leads into deals. If you're actually not getting calls or not actually getting any response, it's okay to pivot. Make sure you're measuring. And lastly, make sure you're using sales techniques to close. You must understand sales. I talk a lot about the No Limit Selling System on this podcast. There's a ton of free information here. You can also buy it at nolimitsalesystem.com. Now, before I hop into today's marketing channel, do me a favor. If you can copy and paste the link to this show, if you enjoy the show, if you're getting value from it, can you share it with 3, 4, 5 of your closest real estate associates who need to hear it? Just copy it and paste it right now into the text bar of your phone. Hit send. It would really help the show. All right, let's jump into topic of today's show, which is cold calling. Now, one of the things I love about cold calling is that it is the most proactive way to find a deal. All right, you're going to pick up the phone. You're going to call a seller. You're going to ask them if they want to sell you a property. Okay. I love this because you are having conversations. You are not waiting for the phone to ring. You are not hiding behind a text. You are not waiting for anything. You are going out there and making it happen. And I can tell you that our team has done cold calls many times and made a lot of money in this business. Now, a quick shout out, by the way, I've got to shout out to the king of cold calling. And he's actually the inspiration for this episode. And that is Mr. TTP, Brent Daniels. Talk to people, right? So shout out to Brent. Most of this is his content for this episode, but I love one of the things he says is that he is the most proactive person in real estate. He does not sit around for deals, and I absolutely love it. So I'm going to give a little summary of what I've learned from Brent from cold calling and a little bit about what I've learned in my own business. But let me tell you a story. Is back a couple of years ago, we had bought a property up in Riverside, California, and it came from a direct mail piece. And we had one of our field inspectors, these are the people who go out and they take a picture of the property, tell us that there were vacant properties both on the left side and the right side of the property that we were buying, right? And so the house in the middle, we owned. And so it came from a direct mail piece. We sent it out. We got a phone call. We bought it. And we were looking at like a $32,000 profit. We were really, really happy. Well, I heard about the property on the left and on the right, and I told one of our acquisition specialists, I gave him the phone numbers. I said, hey, listen, why don't you call these and see if we can't find a deal? Long story short, I gave him the address on there, and it just happened that I was in that flow of information. And that acquisition specialist, okay, I noticed that piece of paper was on his desk for a couple of days. And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? He had left the office, and I saw that this lead had not been called. So I picked up the address. I skip traced the phone number, and skip tracing is basically where you take a property, you find the owner's name, and you get the phone number. I picked up the phone. I called somebody. I got a voicemail. I left a message that said, hey, this is Todd. I was calling about your property over at XYZ. I'm not sure if you'd be interested in selling it, but I just bought the one next to it. Give me a call. Okay. One phone call. Didn't think anything of it. A couple hours later, my phone rings. Hi, this is Edna. I got your phone call. Yes, I'm interested in selling my property. One phone call. One time, I made $22,000 from that one phone call. Now, that acquisition specialist who I had working in my company who did not make that phone call, he missed out on that deal, right? And this is why cold calling is so powerful. I do not know why that seller did not call from the direct mail. As a matter of fact, that seller was on my direct mail list, but didn't respond. Sometimes it's because of the mailing address. Sometimes the seller will have the wrong mailing address in the tax records, but I got the phone number. Made it happen, made the phone call, got proactive, created activity, and made 22 grand. Not to mention the money that I made on the house right next to it. Okay. And I can tell you that you can do the same thing. Now, I absolutely love cold calling. In our business, we actually don't have it in-house. We use joint venture partners, which is something that I talked in this previous episodes. But there are so many ways that you can use cold calling. I just love so many things about it. By the way, if you want to know more about skip tracing, I forgot to mention that the company that we use, Batch Skip Tracing, if you want to know more about them, go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/skip trace, okay, for their best pricing. And you can skip trace bulk names, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 at a time. It's so easy. Just send them a list. They'll skip trace it for you, send it right back to you, and you could start calling and getting deals just like that. So go out there and make it happen. Now, there's some real advantages to cold calling, right? The advantage is you're going to get on the phone. You're going to be proactive. You're going to start having conversations today. I don't care who you are. If you start generating phone calls, if you start calling for 1 hour straight, I guarantee you that you're going to talk to at least one person who has an interest in selling. If you're going to talk 2 hours straight, you're going to talk to 2 people. 4 hours straight, you're going to talk to maybe 3 to 4 people total. So let me show you how the numbers work with cold calling, right? Every day you talk to people and you get them in your pipeline, you're going to get, 2 or 3 people who are interested in talking to you. Those numbers over time, after a week, you're going to have 10 people. A month, you're going to have 30 or 40. And I can tell you that after a month, out of 30 to 40 people who have some kind of interest in selling, you're going to be able to do business with one of those. The math just works, right? It is so proactive, right, that you can't help but do a deal. I'm telling you, that's what I love about cold calling. Number 2 is that it is a low barrier of entry. It does not cost a lot to get started. And I'm talking about how you can do that and the price, and if you want to do it yourself or hire somebody else. Number 3, right, is that it's not going anywhere, right? So texting, I talked about in the second episode, there's some, carrier crackdowns and things going out, but cold calling, man, it's been around forever, right? Since people, my dad used to have telemarketing offices in the 70s, and he had the old school phones with the dial numbers, right? And now we're at the point where we're in the 2020s, right? I mean, this is 50 years later, and cold calling is still working. It is tried and true and absolutely a valid form of marketing, right? The disadvantage is that it is labor intensive, right? So if you don't want to be making calls, doing those initial calls is a low dollar per hour activity if you could find a way to leverage it. But I absolutely love it. We use it in our business through joint venture partners who do the cold calling themselves. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can do it yourself if you want to go that route. And then I'm going to talk about some other ways that if you don't want to take it in-house, how you can handle this. So first thing that you want to do, I talked about in episode 1, is you need a list. Okay, you need a list. So you can go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/data and pull distressed property data for sellers, right? Next, after that, you want to call owner occupied 65 years of age and older. And after that, you can hit the non-owner occupied. In my experience, those are the order in which you want to speak to those sellers. Okay. Pull the list, get it skip traced go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/skip trace. Okay. Batch leads will skip trace that data, send it back to you, right, in format that you could just start dialing and stick that data, okay, into some place where you will call. Now, I don't care whether you do this manually. You could start calling manually on your telephone, on your cell phone, and start there. Or you can use a service like Call Mojo, right, where you could take all of those leads and stick them into a dialer. And basically, it's like the machine gun of telephones, right? It'll go and it'll just start dialing numbers until people pick up. And that's highly effective. I think you could buy that service for like $100 or $200. That's callmojo.com. For skip tracing, go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/skip trace. For the data, you can go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/data. And by the way, all of these links are in the show notes. All right. So if you want to check more and you want to write these down, they're all there for you. Now, you can do those, right? You can go and make that happen. If you don't have a lot of money, I can tell you that you can run this business on like a 90% profit margin if you do this yourself. I know people making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year wholesaling just as a one-man show. Me personally, that's not my style. I love to leverage others. I love to build a team. I love to spend my highest and best use developing other people. It just adds a lot of satisfaction, keeps my energy up, and I know that I'm making money in my sleep. So you can start doing this yourself, but I'm going to recommend partnering with other people, whether in a partnership role or you're hiring people or you're outsourcing it. So here's some recommendations if you don't want to do this yourself. If you want to listen to the last episode, I talked about using joint venture partners who actually do this themselves, or you can use an agency. Now, there's some agencies out there. One of them is called Call Motivated Sellers, I believe. And so if you want to go in the show notes, nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com/callers, right? Again, that'll be in the link. You can go there for their best pricing. These are actually people, you give them that list, they will call for you and then just send you leads every single day. I think you're going to pay them like $20 an hour. They will call for you and make that happen. All right. And so that's a way to get leads every single day. I've got a recommendation there for you, though. I don't care if you're doing this yourself or you're working with an agency or you're working with a joint venture partner. Hold people accountable. Whenever you invest your money, and that's the key word, invest, not spend, you expect a return. So if you send somebody 10,000 names and they're calling, you're going to expect 3 or 4 leads a day. Do not get complacent. Don't twiddle your thumbs. Be on this like white on rice. Where are my leads? Where are my leads? Where are my leads? Be hungry, right? And when you got an eye on your business, okay, it's going to feed you. Take good care of your business, okay? Take it really, really, really seriously. This is not a hobby. Your livelihood depends on this. I know so many business owners who they get caught up in the minutia of this. They're not paying attention to the numbers, right? So when you hire an agency, go out there and make sure you are getting leads. If something is not working, do some coaching. If the coaching is not working, call the agency and tell them you need somebody else, or use another agency, or call yourself. But move forward until you are seeing results. Remember, the only time you should not stay consistent with your marketing is when you are not getting leads. So pay attention. Now, you can do this yourself. Another option is to hire somebody locally yourself. Pay them $10, $15, $20 an hour stateside. You could do that. That's going to require you to train this person in cold calling, and you're going to have to role play with them and manage them. This is going to be more intensive. It may be your best bet over time if you're willing to invest in this person. Just understand that you're probably going to have some turnover. That's just part of the business, right? Cold calling is hard. Burns you out, right? Some people are going to love it, so they're going to enjoy it more if they're getting paid by the hour and maybe a percentage of the deal. So there are some people, my father growing up, I watched him run cold call centers, and man, he was awesome at it. He trained people and role played and trained and role played and trained and role played. And I got that from him, and I learned that from him. And I'm going to pass this gift that my dad gave me to you. Okay. So when you have people, invest your time, your talent, and your treasure into them, and that money will almost always come back to you. Very, 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 very important. Okay, so that's the other option. Lastly, I'm going to talk about joint ventures, and it's a little bit off the play of the last episode that I talked about. is that there are a lot of people out there who love to cold call, right? This is their jam. And so they've got their big headset on, they've got their dialer, they've got the data, and they want to work, nationwide, 5, 6, 7 markets. This is their thing. And let their ability to do this, right, and their ability to be spread out among many markets, let their desire to do this partner with your focus in one market, right? So if you've got someone, let's say, who's doing this, and there's a lot of them out there who are calling in multiple markets, sometimes they're also texting, but stay focused on your local market where you are an expert, where you can get belly to belly with a seller, and partner with someone who's not as focused, who's got leads for your area. Joint venture, you close the deals, make them big, and split the deals, right? And this way, you've got no overhead, you've got no training, you've got no list costs, right? It's beautiful. Now, you can negotiate, in terms of you can pay for the list or they can pay for the list. Again, if you want all those resources, go to nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com. They're all in the show notes today. But my advice to you is that if you're going to use cold calling, decide which person you're going to be. Are you going to be the caller? Are you going to be the guy who outsources this? Are you going to be the gal who hires somebody in-house? Or are you going to be the company who joint ventures? Any one of those 4 is okay. I could tell you that one of the reasons I just love cold calling is that you're going to get leads today. And leads today mean deals tomorrow. Very important. So I'm going to reiterate again the core principles of marketing. I'm not going to stop because it is so important. If someone is not succeeding in this business, many times it comes down to this. Number 1, marketing is the lifeblood of your business. Without it, it's nothing. Number 2, you got to have one marketing channel that you focus on that you've got to get off the ground. Pick one, commit, work every lead like your life depends on it. Have a regular schedule. Take emotion out of it. Pivot if you're not actually having conversations with people. Lastly, make sure you understand sales and negotiation. Listen to this podcast. Learn how to talk to people. Get commitments on every step of the transaction until you have a contract in your hand. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Do me a favor, share the show, copy and link the link to the show, share it with 3 to 5 of your closest real estate friends, and I will talk to you on the next episode.